Hey guys, welcome back to the second episode of the Fireside MMA podcast. We have so much to get into today, from fights to announcements, so let's just get started. Last night marked the first round of the PFL 2025 World Tournament. Yesterday, the first round for featherweights and welterweights happened. The card was very fun. It was awesome to watch. A lot of first round finishes and just a lot of finishes overall. I think only 2 fights went to decision, and the rest were absolutely amazing. Taekyun Kim beat Nathan Kelly with a round 1 submission. That was such an impressive victory. He hit him with an overhand right and dropped him, and just got on him and rode him, stayed on his back, was able to snatch the rear naked choke after like 2 or 3 minutes on his back. Just a very impressive victory, and overall a pretty great fight for just one round. The next fight, Masayuki Kikuwiri beat Yanis Bashar. I don't understand really what happened. At the end of round 2, before round 3 started, Yanis Bashar just didn't get up from the stool. The broadcast didn't really know what was going on either. Some were thinking maybe a knee injury. So I don't know what happened there, but Kikuwiri moves on with a TKO after the second round. Next, in the featherweight division, Gabriel Braga defeats Fred Duprat in another round 1 submission. That fight was absolutely insane. Braga with an amazing comeback. He was hurt. He was almost knocked out, and he came back, was able to get the submission, and just an amazing performance from him. Next, another round 1 finish. Thad Jean knocked out Muhhamad Berkamov in one round. Such an impressive victory. Thad Jean's, I don't know if it's his style or just his stance, but it's very unorthodox, a little strange. Fighting out of Haiti, and he put it on him at the end of that first round, and he got a nice, I think it was a right hand counter and then a left hook, and just beautiful, knocked him straight out. Amazing performance from Thad Jean. The broadcast was really hyping him up. The PFL packages were really hyping him up to be a homegrown star of the PFL. And I think if you're going to put your money behind somebody as an organization, I think Thad Jean was an amazing choice to do so. Next, in a decision victory, Movlid Kabulaev beat Jeremy Kennedy. Man, some of these names are pretty hard to say. Movlid Kabulaev beats Kennedy in a decision. That fight was just crazy. The first round, Jeremy Kennedy absolutely destroyed him. It looked like maybe even a 10-8 round. It wasn't scored that way, but it looked like it could have been. Absolutely insane. Rocked him, dropped him, I think twice, stayed on him with the wrestling. Absolutely insane. Then that second round comes in, and Kabulaev comes back and does the same thing to Kennedy, which is insane. His striking looked so much more improved in the second round after being hurt, and he put the same hurt back on Kennedy that was put to him in round 1, and then round 3 was a little bit more even, but Kabulaev was able to pull ahead for the victory. The next fight, Logan Storley beat Joseph Luciano in a decision again. Logan Storley is a Minnesota State wrestler. The likes of Brock Lesnar, Gable Stevenson, those are wrestlers from Minnesota State. So he had the same wrestling prowess. He just stayed on him, wouldn't let him get up, rode him incredibly well, kept him on the floor, constantly shooting takedowns. It was just an amazing wrestling performance, a dominant wrestling performance. And I mean, it was just such an impressive thing to watch for 15 minutes to constantly be shooting takedowns, keeping a guy down. Just an amazing performance overall. Next, in the co-main event, Jesus Pinedo knocked out Adam Borix in round 1. such a, like, that fight was so insane. They traded early on, and Jesus Pineda was able just to get the shot that lands correctly, and just absolutely insane striking from him. And I'm excited to see him in the next round of the tournament, because the guy he's fighting in the semifinals, he's already fought 3 times. So it'll be interesting to see that matchup again. And I'm very excited for him. And in the main event, Jason Jackson, former Bellator welterweight champion out of Jamaica, beat Andrei Korshakov in the main event. He submitted him in round 2. There was something that happened in the fight. It was a foul. It was like a Jackson had him mounted. Korshakov was moving around trying to escape, and he got elbowed in the back of the head. And referee Keith Peterson stopped the bout, let him recuperate. It was really, I didn't really understand it, because technically you're not allowed to give time unless it's a foul, and back of the head strikes aren't fouls, they're just illegal. But the technique isn't a foul, throwing an elbow is not a foul, so there shouldn't be the 5-minute allotted time period for it. But there was. He gave him time to recover, but it didn't matter because Jason Jackson ended up able to snatch up a rear naked choke on him in round 2. An impressive victory from the former Bellator champion, and it looks like he could really win this whole tournament. He was, I think, probably the most impressive welterweight that went on tonight, and it's absolutely insane performance from him. Great performance from everybody on this card. Most people just like to watch the UFC and focus on the UFC, and while I do agree the UFC has the best talent, the best fighters in the world, these other organizations and brands have some really entertaining guys, really entertaining fights, and just ways they do stuff. I think a world tournament and just tournament fighting in general is such an entertaining thing, and such a, obviously it started with the UFC. They perfected that with the one-night tournaments, all the early UFCs. But these world tournaments that take place over maybe a couple months, just very fun, very entertaining. Speaking of fun and entertaining organizations, the Global Fighter League has put together their roster, has put together their teams, and it is just insane. Saturday and Sunday of May 24th and 25th, they have their first round going on. I'm just going to list to you some of these fighters that they have. They have Ray Borg, Marlon Moraes, Kat Zingano, Alex Oliveira, Derek Brunson, Holly Holm, Benson Henderson, Anthony Showtime Pettis, Renan Barao, Uriah Faber, Chad Mendez, Sage Northcutt, Aspen Ladd, Paige Van Zant, Thiago Santos, Alexander Gustafsson, Owen St. Preux, Uriah Hill, Dylan Dennis, and Tony Ferguson. It is just insane that an organization was able to get all these fighters together, get them to fight again. A lot of these people are either retired or haven't fought in a very long time. And it's just an insane thought to think a organization was able to get all these people together to fight in a tournament style, and it isn't the UFC. So I think that's going to be a very exciting thing to watch. It's very innovative the way they're doing it, from the different parts of the world having their teams, the tournament style. I think it's just a great addition to the mixed martial arts world, and I'm very excited to see where it goes, and very excited to watch these fights because these are some legends here. I mean, Tony Ferguson fighting Anthony Pettis, Benson Henderson, one of the greatest lightweights of all time, Alexander Gustafsson, one of the greatest light heavyweights of all time. Just an incredible array of fighters, and I'm very, very excited. I keep using that word, but I'm just so excited for this. It's an insane thing that's going on, and can't wait to see what happens. Now, to the big, big news coming from Dana White himself. He announced the UFC 316 card. He announced the main event for the April 26th fight night, and he announced a very, very important partnership. So let's get into it. First, the UFC 316 pay-per-view. In the main event, Merab Dvalishvili defending his bantamweight championship against Sean O'Malley. In the co-main event, Juliana Pena will face Kayla Harrison for the women's bantamweight championship. Now, starting with the Pena-Harrison fight, I'm very excited for that fight. That's just an incredible fight, skill-wise and on paper. We've seen that Pena can wrestle. She has a great grappling base. She used it to beat Amanda Nunes. She used it well against Raquel Pennington. And it'll be interesting to see if Kayla Harrison can get her to the ground and keep her on the ground. Because Kayla Harrison, of course, a black belt in judo, will be able to get her there with her trips, throws, and takedowns. But can she keep her there is the question. And then the striking game will just be so fun because Juliana Pena has a very interesting style. It's the very blitz, like the karate blitz forward style. And it works and it doesn't sometimes. It depends how good of a counter striker somebody is. Because Amanda Nunes in their second fight was able to stop that because of how long she was, and she was able to counter strike as Juliana came in. But in that first Amanda Nunes fight, Amanda didn't have the space and didn't have the wits to counter strike and be moving backward and strike, and that's ultimately why Juliana was able to rock her and beat her in that fight. So that's going to be a good fight to see. Early prediction for that fight, I think Kayla Harrison is going to take it. I think just overall, her grappling is going to outshine anything, and she'll be able to get that belt. I'm also very excited for the build-up to this fight. I've seen a lot of people online talking about how much shit it will be talked for this fight, and I'm very excited for that because there's not been many women in MMA that are big on talking and are big like charisma people, like your Mcgregor, like your Sonnen. So it'll be fun to see women talking shit. Like that's gonna be a very interesting build up to the fight. Of course, there's charismatic women in the UFC. There was Ronda Rousey. There was Joanna Jędrzejczyk, who didn't really talk too much, but just her aura was very charismatic, and it gave her a boost. So it'll be very fun to see the build up for that fight. Now, Merab Dvalishvili versus Sean O'Malley. When I first heard it, I didn't understand it. I didn't get it. Merab was so dominant in that fight. I didn't really understand how Sean can get a rematch. And Merab was so dominant in the Umar fight as well. He just had defense that was just insane. His pace, his cardio was just too much for both of these guys. So in my head, the Sean O'Malley rematch, other than the trope that the champion always gets the rematch, didn't make sense to me. But then I looked at the UFC rankings. I don't see anybody in the top 5 that can rightfully say they deserve the belt. Davison Figueiredo's coming on a loss. In my opinion, people on losses, you can't lose and get a title shot. That's not how the business works. That's not how life works. You don't lose and then get something you want, especially in the fight game. Corey Sandhagen, number 4, same deal for him, just off a loss to Umar. Umar just got dominated by Merab, so he's really out of the running. Petr Yan, this is the only one I can make a case for. He beat Davison Figueiredo recently, and I think he was the only other option. Because number 1 is Sean O'Malley, number 2 is Petr Yan. You have to give it to one of them, because 3 through 5 are already out of the running. I don't know why they didn't give it to Petr Yan, because we've seen Merab fight both of them. We have. Merab shot the most takedowns out of anybody in UFC history on Petr Yan, and he just destroyed Sean O'Malley. So when you look at the rankings, nobody should be fighting Merab. Merab is a true champion, but you have to give him somebody. And when it's between Sean O'Malley and Petr Yan, as much as I would have liked to see a Petr Yan and Merab fight go 5 rounds, because when they did fight, it was a 3-round fight. As much as I would have liked to see that, I can understand why Sean O'Malley was put in there instead. The champion getting the rematch does make sense to some degree, and it'll be an interesting fight. I don't know what's going to be different. I can't see much happening different. The fight was less than a year ago. You can't learn how to wrestle, and you can't get that amazing cardio in less than a year, sometimes ever. Cardio is a very, very genetic thing sometimes. Some people just have it, some people don't. The Diaz brothers have it. Colby Covington has it. Merab Dvalishvili has it. They all work hard, but their cardio just genetically is insane. And I don't know if that's something Sean O'Malley can build. And then the wrestling, you can't learn, with how dominated he was in that fight, you can't learn to defend that in less than a year. But Sean O'Malley himself has said that he will be 70% better. 70% better. He said 10 weeks out to the fight, before the first fight, he tore his labrum. So he couldn't train really for the last 10 weeks of camp. I'm inclined to believe him because he didn't bring this up when he lost. He didn't lose and say, "Hey, I tore my labrum." He waited till he got the rematch and said, "I'm going to be better because I wasn't well prepared in the first fight." Now, whether you take that as truth or not is up to you, but I feel I'm inclined to believe him. And he said he's going to be 70% better. He said he's cutting out weed. He's not smoking during this fight camp. So it'll be interesting to see if he is better. And it'll be interesting to see what 70% better is, because it's been such a long time since we've seen a champion get so dominated by somebody. Like Sean O'Malley was a good champion. He had the defense. He won the title in an impressive way. He had so much hype around him. And it's been so long since we've seen a champion like that just utterly destroyed. I can't really think in any recent time that that's happened. That they've just been dominated. Like, that we've had champions lose, but they've been pretty close fights, or they've been good fights, but nothing as dominant as what Merab did to Sean at UFC 306. Now, Dana White also announced a April 26th fight night main event, Prates versus Machado Gary. That is one. I would like to just give my flowers to Ian Gary. Took this fight on 21 days notice, I think. Couldn't be 21 days notice because we're not even 21 days away from the fight. He took it on short notice is my point. Took the fight on short notice. Coming back from his loss to Shavkat. I think a loss like that, after being an undefeated fighter, after kind of getting that hype behind you, whether people like you or not, I think this is going to be a very important fight for him. I think this is a very good fight for him. I think Prates is popular enough that he will be able to get hype off of this fight. This isn't a lose-lose fight that some people take after losses. So it'll be very interesting to see what Machado Gary can do. Prates, the Geoff Neal fight was canceled, so he got thrown in with Gary. Prates is just such an impressive fighter. I mean, his Muay Thai, his striking ability is so insane. He is such a highlight reel at such a young age, and he's just such a fun fighter to watch. It'll be very interesting to see. I don't know how this fight is really gonna go, because Gary training with Charles Oliveira in that camp, really improving his wrestling in Brazil. It could help him. It really could, because It helped him against MVP. The only reason MVP was faster than him, MVP looked stronger than him in that fight. But Ian Gary's wrestling and grappling is what was able to get him that victory. And I think the same thing could happen to Prates, because Prates isn't as fast as MVP is. So Gary has a little bit more chance, a little bit more of a chance with the striking. He's not going to be forced to wrestle as early, but maybe he will want to, because Prates is a scary, scary dude. His striking is just absolutely insane. And it's like, yes, I can strike with him now because he's not faster than me, but you can really win the fight if you grapple. We haven't really seen Prates's grappling be tested yet. We've seen in Gary. We know he can. We know he's training with that Charles Oliveira team. So it'll be very, very fun to see. I'm trying to see the tail of the tape if we have one yet. Yeah, okay. Tail of the tape. Prates has a longer reach. Wow, I wasn't expecting that. Prates is a little bit shorter. So it looks like Prates will be able to hit Gary a lot. So, man, I really do think we're going to see a lot of wrestling for me and Gary then. I think we're going to see a lot of grappling. I think he's going to try to work in that jiu-jitsu, because Carlos Prates is not somebody you want to really put your hands on. You don't want to trade with him. He's proven it before. People have tried to trade with him and he just knocks them out. So it'll be interesting to see what Gary does. I think if he fights smart, he fights long, and then he gets in there when he needs to grapple, I think he could win this. But something about those fighting nerds, I can't go against them. I'm giving my early prediction to Prates. That team is just incredible. Everything they're doing, John Silva, Kyle Baralio, Carlos Prates, just everything they're doing. All their fighters are amazing. And I can't really go against them. I don't have anything bad to say about that camp. So I don't see how anything could be different than the rest of their performances. This Tuesday, Dana White also announced the UFC and Meta partnership. Apparently, Meta is going to be the official social media. I don't really understand the nitty-gritty of it all. I'm going to be honest with you. But Meta's going to introduce new content, new experiences for UFC fans, and what I'm most excited for is a new ranking system powered by Meta AI. Now, I don't know how that's going to work. I don't know what it's going to be based on, but I'm excited to see a new ranking system, because sometimes the ranking system is a little iffy. The fact that John Jones was even in the rankings for as long as he was, with how inactive he was insane. And I know Dana's probably doing this to get John Jones higher in those rankings, but I think it's absolutely insane that he was in the rankings at all after fighting for such a short amount of time. So I'm very excited to see that new ranking system, and I'm excited to see what new content is made with the UFC, what Meta is able to do with them, with Threads, Instagram, and Facebook. I'm very excited to see what new experiences they are as technology continues to grow in the world. I think UFC getting on this partnership and getting a leg in there will be very important for the outcome of the UFC. And I don't know if it's just UFC or if it's slap boxing, if it's TKO boxing, if TKO is making the partnership with Meta, so that might affect the WWE as well. I'm not sure. When Dana announced it, he announced it only as the UFC, but we'll see what happens there. Next, McGregor retired. Now, he didn't come out and say, "Hi, I'm retiring." The UFC didn't put a package together saying McGregor's retiring, here's his amazing, illustrious career. But McGregor did say himself that he doesn't see himself fighting soon. He wants to focus on his businesses, but most of all, he wants to focus on politics in Ireland. I'm not Irish. I don't care too much for the politics of it. Good for him, I guess. Good for him. We're not going to see McGregor fight again. I knew we weren't going to see McGregor fight again ever since the Michael Chandler fight got cut. I thought that was the one chance we might see him in the octagon. As soon as that fight got canceled, I knew we weren't going to see him again. There's no reason he needs to fight. He's one of the richest people. He was the highest paid athlete across all sports at one time. He's the highest paid UFC athlete. He's the biggest star the UFC's ever seen. The first double champ. That's such an incredible accomplishment to have under your belt. You know, there's going to be other double champs. There has been other double champs. But nobody can say they were the first. And McGregor can. So that's just an incredible thing. Watching him throughout 2015 and 2016 was so incredible. Such a fun fighter to watch. And while it is sad to see him go, happy for the guy. Another just statistic, 8 of the top 10 grossing UFC pay-per-views were McGregor pay-per-views. 8 of the top 10. That's an incredible statement as to what he did for the UFC and how big of a star he was. The second top grossing pay-per-view of all time across any sport, across anything, was McGregor Mayweather. So he brings something to the table for the UFC, and it'll be interesting to see if he can be replaced and who he is replaced with as that star. You have people like Alex Pereira, Sean O'Malley that seem like they can live up to that potential. But something about the McGregor aura, who he was, how he talked, how he carried himself, it's just unmatched. And it's sad to see him go. He was my favorite fighter at one point, but happy for him. And it'll be interesting to see what he does next with bare knuckle fighting and how he carries along that business. Jon Jones recently came out and said that he's going to wait 6 months. 6 months to fight. And that's not 6 months from today. That's 6 months from whenever they sign a contract. Now this to me means two things. Now we are confirmed Jon Jones will fight again. Jon Jones himself is saying, when I get a contract signed, I'm going to fight 6 months after that. Which I think is a very important thing to think of. He wants to fight, I think is what that shows. And I'm excited to see who he fights. But it also begs the question, should Tom Aspinall wait for Jon Jones? Should Tom Aspinall wait for that fight to be signed and then wait an additional 6 months to fight Jon Jones in the prime of his life? I don't know. And that's the tough thing about it. My initial thought is to say no. Before Jon Jones fought Stipe, it was pretty widely accepted across the UFC community that Tom Aspinall was the real champion of that division. A lot of people backed that, a lot of people supported that, and a lot of people really believed that. Obviously, he was just the interim champion, but the champion had been away for over a year. He was the one fighting and defending his belt. People accepted him as the champion. And I think that sentiment will continue as Jon Jones continues to not fight. I think Tom Aspinall will be able to pull the UFC community behind him and say, I'm the one defending my belt. I'm the one staying active. I'm the champion of this division. He's proved he can beat the top guys in the division. I don't see anybody in that heavyweight division that could beat him other than possibly Jon Jones. A Cyril Gane fight would be awesome to see, but I still think Tom Aspinall would beat him. Everybody else in the top 5, Sergey Pavlovich, Curtis Blades, Alexander Volkov, Tom Aspinall's already beat them. So I think that he can keep clearing out that division. I think he can go down in the rankings, clear out the bottom. I don't think he has to wait for Jon Jones. I don't think he does. While if Jon Jones does retire without Tom Aspinall fighting him, there's always going to be that asterisk by Tom Aspinall, which would suck. But I don't think Tom Aspinall has to wait for Jon Jones. I think he can be the best without beating the best. You know, that comes from the nature boy Ric Flair. To be the best, you gotta beat the best. I don't think he does. I think he's proved by clearing out that heavyweight division as fast as he does and as impressively as he does that he is the best heavyweight right now. Jon Jones is taking a year at a time, over a year at a time, to defend his belt. He fought in November. If he waits 6 months, that'll put us in October. And that's if he signs a contract now. We won't see him till almost a year after his latest defense. I don't think Tom Aspinall has to wait. I think Tom Aspinall should continue to fight. I think possibly that Alex Pereira fight could happen. I don't want to see Pereira up to heavyweight. I think his loss to Muhhamad Ankalaev shows that he shouldn't be at any division higher than light heavyweight. I think it would be interesting to see him at middleweight against du Plessis, but that middleweight division just has too much going on for somebody from another division to come in and immediately claim a title shot. You know, Imavov just beat Adesanya. He's in there for deserving it. Sean Strickland and du Plessis are supposed to fight, so we'll see how that fight turns out, because if Sean wins, now they're one apiece. Now we need that rubber match. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens with that division. But I don't think Alex Pereira will go fight Tom Aspinall, and I don't think Tom Aspinall needs to fight Jon Jones. But Jon Jones' statement does nudge us in the direction that Jon Jones will be fighting again. And if he fights again, it will be Tom Aspinall. But I'm not sure Tom Aspinall needs to wait to fight him. I think Tom Aspinall should stay active in the prime of his life. I think he should collect those paychecks. And if he fights soon, Jon Jones in October or November is still possible. So we'll see what happens with that. Next on our next topic of conversation, I guess, is the UFC 315 main event. Belal Muhhamad and Della Maddalena. I was searching through online, seeing what's going on, and some people are having major concerns with Maddalena's training. His fans are thinking he looks slow, his footwork's not there, and that his striking has fallen. I personally didn't see that. I watch as much training footage as I can. I tried to look for everything I could of what they were talking about, and I really couldn't. I'm not too concerned about how he looks in training camp, because these concerns always happen. Any fight that happens, fans are always like, oh no, why is he training like this? Why does he look like this in training? For whoever's fighting. So I'm not too concerned that the fans think there's something wrong in his training or there's something going on. I think the training camp he's in with Volkanovski, both preparing for title shots, I think that training camp's going well. I haven't seen anything anywhere that Jack Della isn't going to be good for that fight. But the one thing that Jack Della might not be ready for is Belal Muhammad as a whole. Belal Muhammad said he's going to shoot only one takedown that entire fight. And he's going to go and show his quote-unquote Canelo hands. He said he's the best boxer at welterweight and the best boxer in the UFC. We've seen Belal Muhammad fight. We know he's boring. He had a one-off against Sean Brady that was an entertaining fight. He had moments in the Leon Edwards fight that were entertaining. But the best boxer at welterweight and the best in the UFC is a hard statement to believe. But he's the world champion. I've had my doubts about him for his whole career as he was going up, as he beat Wonderboy Thompson, as he beat Vicente Luque. Going up in that division, I've doubted him, but he's proved me wrong every time. He outstruck Leon Edwards. In the waning moments of that fight, he was able to outstrike Leon Edwards whenever they were standing. So now I don't think it's as crazy to say that he's the best boxer in the welterweight division. Now, best in the UFC, that's another question. That's a hard conversation and one that unanimously goes to either Ilia Topuria or Max Holloway, in my opinion. But the best at welterweight, I think that's possible. And even if he's not the best at welterweight, is he a good striker? I think we've seen him wrestle and hug for 15 minutes at a time, just over and over again. And it is boring. He's not a fun fighter to watch. His charisma, he doesn't have much. He's a little cringy to watch sometimes. Watching him speak, not speak in total, but like watching him try to trash talk his opponents, watching him try to build hype for a fight, it's a little cringy sometimes, and his fighting style is not the most entertaining. But what we did see in that Leon Edwards fight is that he was able to beat him and beat him on the feet. I think that's an incredible thing to do. And I'm tired of doubting him. I'm not a fan of his. He's a pretty good fighter. Obviously, he's the world champion. I'm not a fan of his, but I'm tired of doubting him. His striking against Leon Edwards was just too good. Like, honestly, too good. So, we'll see what happens in that fight. I think Belal Muhammad's going to take it. It'd be interesting to see how Jack Della strikes against him. The one thing I'm not sure if I believe from Belal Muhammad is the one takedown. One, because I just don't think that's smart. I get trying to prove a point. I don't think it's smart. As boring as he is on the ground, it works. He's a great wrestler, dropping Leon on his head multiple times in that fight. He is a good wrestler. So to say he's only going to shoot one takedown to prove a point, I don't think it's smart. I think he should stick to the game plan. I think he should fight the way he wants to fight and the way he's supposed to fight with his camp, whatever him and his coaches decided. But it'll be interesting to see how that fight goes down. I'm very excited for that fight. Seeing Jack Della Maddalena. And I guess we'll get a preview of whatever the Maddalena camp was at UFC 314 with how Volk performs. We'll see how that camp was. We'll see what's going on with them. So that'll be very interesting to see. Finally, for today, this weekend, we have Emmett versus Murphy. This fight is it's an interesting one. There's a lot of movement going on in the featherweight division. There's going to be a lot of movement in the featherweight division. next weekend at the UFC 314. So I think this is Murphy's opportunity to really leave a mark on the division. If he's able to put away Emmett in an impressive way, people will remember him. He's number 10 right now. Josh Emmett's number 8. I don't think it's going to put him for a title shot, but he could possibly get the loser of one of these upcoming fights. He could get the loser of Yair and Pitbull. He could get the loser, possibly, of Lopez and Volkanovski if he puts a real stamp on this performance. Now, Josh Emmett hasn't fought since he knocked out Bryce Mitchell, which was an insane knockout. Just such an insane... I don't even know what to call it. It was a spectacle. It was mind-boggling. He made a man have a seizure with just his hands. He knocked him out. He fell to the floor, stiffened up immediately, and started seizing. And it was such a scary thing to watch live. I remember watching that fight as it happened. And they kept the camera on Bryce Mitchell, and you could see him shaking and convulsing. And that was just such a scary thing. If you haven't seen that highlight, please go look it up. Josh Emmett versus Bryce Mitchell. Just such a crazy knockout. One of the scariest things I've seen as a UFC fan. But in all, I do think Murphy takes this fight. He's on a 7-fight win streak. His last victory was a decision over Dan Ige. He's undefeated in the UFC. His striking is cleaner. He might not have as much power as Josh Emmett, but he has good striking. I think it's more put together and more versatile than Josh Emmett's. And then the grappling, I think Murphy wins on the ground 1,000%. Not that he's going to take it there and win there, but I think if it does go there, Murphy has the advantage there. I think because he's longer, he's going to have an easy time keeping the distance until he wants to come in. He's going to be able to set the pace. I think he's really better in every aspect. The only thing I can see is if Emmett makes this a real brawl and really puts the fight on him, keeps coming forward and keeps throwing and keeps the pressure up and keeps the pace high, he could possibly pull it out and win. Because Josh Emmett does have a crazy power at featherweight. There's not many featherweights that can hit as hard as he does, maybe other than possibly the former champion Ilia Topuria. So it'll be fun to see if Emmett's able to beat the test of Murphy, and it'll be interesting to see if Murphy's able to climb the ranks using Josh Emmett as his stepping stone. That's all I have for you today. Thank you for watching this episode of Fireside MMA. Let me know any of your ideas for what to talk about on the next episode, any suggestions, and your opinions on what's going on in the UFC right now. Let me know what you think about the 316 announcement, what you think about Belal Muhhamad and Della Maddalena, and anything else, any other concerns or comments you have about the MMA world in general. Let me know. Good talking with you guys. See you next time.